Kia ora, everyone. Morena. Welcome to our Tawa School story time for Tuesday, the 14th of April. Big day tomorrow as school officially goes back. I know that your teachers have all got lots of really cool things planned. So and we're going to continue with story time at 10 all throughout this time when we are working and learning from home. But we're going to get started today on I think this is the final of the Colin McNaughton books that I have got here at home. This one's called Oops. All right, and then we will continue on with Fantastic Mr. Fox. So here we go. It was the same old story. Mr. Wolf was hungry. Mr. Wolf was very hungry, and Mr. Wolf had his eye on Preston Pig. Mr. Wolf was hungry for three very good reasons. One, Mr. Plump, the shopkeeper, had banned him from his shop for eating the customers. Yeah, fair enough. Two, Mr. Plump, the park keeper, had banned him from the park for picnicking on the visitors. And number three, Miss Thump, the school teacher, had banned him from the school grounds for snacking on the students. Don't look at me like that. I'm the big bad wolf. It's my job to be nasty. These stories would be pretty boring if I were good, wouldn't they? Suddenly, there was a huge crash. Oops, said Preston. You clumsy great pudding, said Preston's mum. Get out from under my feet and take that basket of food to your granny's. She's not well. Yes, mum, said Preston, and tell Granny I'll be over later to chop her some wood, said Preston's dad. Yes, Dad, said Preston, and put on your coat on, said Preston's mum. Yes, Mum, said Preston, and don't slam the door, said Preston's dad. The chimney pot is loose. Slam went the door. Oops, went Preston. Red hood, basket of food, Granny's house. That reminds me of a story, but which one, said Mr. Wolf, just before the chimney pot landed on his head. Mr. Wolf picked himself up and followed Preston. I'll take a shortcut through the woods and get ahead of him, said Mr. Wolf. But Mr. Wolf did not like the woods. Woods were full of nasty, itchy, scratchy, bitey things. I wish I could think which story the Red Hood reminds me of, said Mr. Wolf crossly as he pulled thorns out of his bottom. I know it isn't the Three Little Pigs, said Mr. Wolf, but I do like that story. Especially the bit where the wolf eats the three little pigs and escapes. Well, that's how my mum used to tell it. I'll huff and I'll blow your house down. And there's little baby pig there, baby wolf. Mr. Wolf tried some cunning wolf tricks to catch Preston, but he didn't have much luck. Preston saying, silly place to leave a banana skin, so I might have slipped on it. So cunning wolf trick number one, the old banana skin ploy. Cunning wolf trick number two, the old dig a deep pit dodge. And number three, cunning wolf trick, the old, if all else fails, bash him on the head with a big stick plan. Still not having much luck there. Preston reached Granny's house safely. Mr. Wolf was fed up. He was hot and sticky. There was a huge crash. Oops, said Preston. Mr. Wolf sneaked up to the window, and this is what he heard. What big eyes you've got, Granny, said Preston. All the better to see you smash my teapot, said Granny. What big ears you've got, Granny, said Preston. All the better to hear you smash the cup, said Granny. What big teeth you've got, Granny, said Preston. All the better to gnash you when you smash my sugar bowl, said Granny. Hey, cried Mr. Wolf, those are my lines. I remember that story now. It's Little Red Riding Hood. Mr. Wolf leapt through the window, tied Granny up, and stuffed Preston in a sack. Now let me think, said Mr. Wolf. How does the story end? He was just opening the door when he remembered. Oops, said Mr. Wolf. And they all lived happily ever after. The end. I'm wondering if the wolf will finally give to chapter 13. Bunce's Giant Storehouse. My dear Foxy, cried Badger, what in the world has happened to your tail? Don't talk about it, please, said Mr. Fox. It's a painful subject. They were digging the new tunnel. They dug on in silence. Badger was a great digger, and the tunnel went forward at a terrific pace. Now that he was lending a paw, soon they were crouching underneath yet another wooden floor. Mr. Fox grinned slyly, showing sharp white teeth. If I'm not mistaken, my dear Badger, he said, we're now underneath the farm of which belongs to that nasty little pot-bellied dwarf Bunce. We are in fact directly under the most interesting part of his farm. Ducks and geese, cried the small foxes, licking their lips. Juicy tender ducks and big fat geese. Exactly, said Mr. Fox. But how in the world can you know where we are? Asked Badger. Mr. Fox grinned again, showing even more white teeth. Look, he said, I know my way around these farms blindfolded. For me, it's just as easy below the ground as it is above it. He reached high and pushed up one wooden floorboard, then another. He poked his head through the gap. Yes, he shouted, jumping into the room above. I've done it again. I've hit it smack on the nose, right in the bullseye. Come and look. Quickly, Badger and the three small foxes scrambled up after him. They stopped and stared. They stood and gaped. They were so overwhelmed they couldn't speak, for what they now saw was a kind of fox's dream, a badger's dream, a paradise for hungry animals. This, my dear old Badger, proclaimed Mr. Fox, is Bunce's mighty storehouse. All his finest stuff is stored in here before he sends it off to market. Against all the four walls of the great room, stacked in cupboards and piled upon shelves reaching from floor to ceiling, were thousands and thousands of the finest and fattest ducks and geese, plucked and ready for roasting. And up above, dangling from the rafters, there must have been at least 100 smoked hams and 50 sides of bacon. Just feast your eyes on that, cried Mr. Fox, dancing up and down. What do you think of it, eh? Pretty good grub. Honestly hungry Badger sprang forward to grab the luscious food. Stop, ordered Mr. Fox. This is my party, so I shall do the choosing. The others fell back, licking their chops. Mr. Fox began prowling around the storehouse, examining the glorious display with an expert eye. A thread of saliva slid down one side of his jaw and hung suspended in midair, then snapped. We mustn't overdo it, he said. Mustn't give the game away, mustn't let them know what we've been up to. We must be neat and tidy and take just a few of the choicest morsels. So to start with, we shall have 4 plump young ducks. And he took them from the shelf. Oh, how lovely and fat they are. No wonder Bunce gets a special price for them in the market. All right, Badger, lend me a hand to get them down. You children can help as well. There we go. Goodness me, look how your mouths are watering. And now I think we'll have a few geese. 3 will be quite enough. We'll take the biggest. Oh my, you'll never see finer geese than these in a king's kitchen. Jenny does it. Come on, that's the way. And what about a couple of nice smoked hams? I adore smoked hams, don't you, Badger? Fetch me the stepladder, will you please? Badger, dancing with excitement. Let's have a side of bacon. That big one up there. And carrots, Dad, said the smallest of the 3 small foxes. We must take some of those carrots. Don't be a twerp, said Mr. Fox. You know we never eat things like that. It's not for us, Dad. It's for the rabbits. They only eat vegetables. My goodness me, you're right, cried Mr. Fox. What a thoughtful little fellow you are. Take 10 bunches of carrots. Soon, all the lovely loot was lying in a neat heap up on the floor. Bunce, 2 of those useful push carts over in the corner. He and Badger fetched the push carts, and the ducks and geese and hams and bacon were all loaded onto them. Quickly, the push carts were lowered through the hole in the floor. The animals slid down after them. Back in the tunnel, Mr. Fox again pulled the floorboards very carefully into place so that no one could see that they had been moved. My darlings, he said, pointing to 2 of the 3 small foxes, take a cart each and run back as fast as you can to your mother. Be home as soon as we've done with one more little job. Yes, Dad, right away, Dad, they answered. And they grabbed a trolley each and went rushing off down the tunnel. Chapter 14. Badger has his doubts. Just one more visit, cried Mr. Fox. And I'll bet I know where that'll be, said the only small fox now left. He was the smallest of them all. Where? asked Badger. Well, said the smallest fox, we've been to Boggis and we've been to Bunce, but we haven't been to Bean. It must be Bean. You're right, said Mr. Fox, but what you don't know is which part of Bean's place we're about to visit. Which? They said both together. Aha, said Mr. Fox. Just you wait and see. They were digging as they talked, and the tunnel was going forward very fast. Suddenly Badger said, Doesn't this worry you just a tiny bit, Foxy? Worry me, said Mr. Fox. What, all this stealing, said Badger. Mr. Fox stopped digging and stared at Badger as though he'd gone completely dotty. My dear old furry frump, he said, do you know anyone in the whole world who wouldn't swipe a few chickens if his children were starving to death? There was a short silence while Badger thought deeply about this. You're far too respectable, said Mr. Fox. There's nothing wrong with being respectable, Badger said. Look, said Mr. Fox, Boggis, Bunce and Bean are out to kill us. You realize that, I hope. I do, Foxy, I do indeed, said the gentle Badger. But we're not going to stoop to their level. We don't want to kill them. I should hope not indeed, said Badger. We wouldn't dream of it, said Mr. Fox. We shall simply take a little food here and there to keep us and our families alive, right? I suppose we'll have to, said Badger. If they want to be horrible, let them, said Mr. Fox. We down here are decent, peace-loving people. Badger laid his head on one side and smiled at Mr. Fox. Foxy, he said, I love you. Thank you, said Mr. Fox. And now let's get on with the digging. 5 minutes later, Badger's front paws hit something hard and flat. What on earth is this? He said. Looks like a solid stone wall, he said, and Mr. Fox scraped away the soil. It was a wall. Right in front of them, blocking their way. Now, who in the world would build a wall under the ground? Asked Mr. Badger. Very simple, said Mr. Fox. It's the wall of an underground room, and if I'm not mistaken, it is exactly what I'm looking for. All right, we're going to stop there for now. The next is Bean's Secret Cider Cellar. I will look forward to catching up with you all tomorrow as we start our learning from home. Remember to just check your school emails, check Seesaw. Your mums and dads and parents and your whānau will all know about what's happening. So have fun. We'll catch up with you again tomorrow. Ka kite anō.